Greetings, Mike Poole. Welcome to Earthandcup. I'm going to talk to you today about some Tai Chi responses to trauma or trauma-induced memory responses. These are going to be some basic techniques we can use either for ourselves or to assist somebody else as they find themselves in the midst of a traumatic response. Remember, trauma can be anything. Anything can be traumatic for us, and each person's understanding of trauma could be different. Kind of the basic definition of trauma is something that is outside of our normal everyday understanding or outside of our capabilities to respond in an everyday ordinary setting. So it's something that happens that's outside of our normal frame of reference or our normal capabilities. We tend to call that a traumatic event, critical incident, a disaster sometimes falls into that category. These are going to be like baseline, easy to use, first aid, in the moment approaches to things, right? The first one we're going to do is we're going to call box breathing, okay? It's also sometimes referred to as combat breathing. It's an equal ratio breath and inhale and exhale with an equal ratio pause between the inhale and the exhale and the inhale, right? So it makes this box. So find that nice frame, and we're going to use the count of 2. So we're going to inhale for a count of 2. We're going to float the breath for a count of 2. Exhale for a count of 2. Pause for a count of 2. Again, inhale. Float. Exhale. Pause. Inhale. Float. Exhale. Pause. Relax. So what this does is it resets on kind of our thinking patterns from our sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, or freeze, or that instinctual response to something, into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest, cognitive thinking approach to response, as opposed to an emotional instinctual response that we get with our sympathetic. So we use this breathing pattern. I tend to imagine a box when I'm breathing this. So we're going to move up to a count of 3. We'll do 3 cycles and just kind of imagine the box. Inhale, float, exhale, pause. We'll do 3 count cycles, and we'll just kind of do it on our own. Here we go. Finish that last cycle. Very nice. Okay. So box breathing slows down our. In those traumatic emotional moments, we tend to be upper chest. We tend to be rapid. Hyperventilation is a symptom of a traumatic response. So we're trying to slow down our breath, get a nice, deeper, much more oxygen. More oxygen coming to the brain allows us to be a little more cognitive in our thinking and our responses, right? So that's the purpose of this. The next technique is going to be some Rosenberg eye movement technique. Stanley Rosenberg has written on the use of eye movement to do this a similar thing, to move us from sympathetic nervous system response to parasympathetic nervous response. And basically, for this one, the one that I tend to use the most, it is just keeping our head straight, taking our eyes to the corner and holding it there. So the struggle is keeping our head straight. A lot of times we'll hold our hands here, right, and do this. I like to combine it with open and closed breathing. So you're just going to take your eyes, shift them all the way to the corner, looking to one corner of the eyes, keeping our head straight for about a 30 count. And then we're going to come back to the center, do a 30 count looking straight ahead, and then shifting it to the other side, holding it out there for a 30 count, bring it back. Okay? You may get some watering, you may get some rapid blinking. All of that is a normal response to this technique. We're going to combine it with open and close. I like to do that because I can kind of get that 30-second count. So if you use a 1 count open and close, right? Breathe in, breathe out. That's 2 counts, 15 times, gets us that 30-second look. And the struggle is, like I said, to keep our head going straight with our eyes looking to the side. So we're going to do a 30 count, looking to this side, 30 count straight, 30 count to that side, 30 count straight. Okay, here we go. All right, so get your eyes going to that direction. Try to keep your head straight. Here we go, 30. Bring your eyes around. We go 15. Look to the other side, corner of the eye. Here we go. Back to the center. Relax. So that's just breathing once again, using open close with the Rosenberg eye techniques. There are several different techniques. This is kind of the basic one. This is the one I use the most, right? So now I'm going to get into kind of how to bring some balance. Once we've got some breathing, you kind of get them breathing, we get some eye movement stuff, and then to try to bring them into balance with their with the response. We're going to stand up for this, right? So we have these three types of sympathetic nervous system responses. They are fight, flight, and freeze, right? Fight, flight, and freeze. And so what we're trying to do with these kind of basic movement techniques is to bring balance. Remember, so we're out of balance, right, when we have too much of something. And what we need to do is, it's not just diminish what's out of balance, but also we have to add the complementariness to it. So we think, you know, in these with yin and yang, the complementary pieces, we try to hold it together. This is sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. They're complementary and they're held in balance. It's when it's out of balance, we try to bring them back into balance with the complement, right? So think about that, with the complement. So we're going to use techniques of the complement to help bring that extreme back into balance. So let's take flight, right? So we just want to boom, we just want to go. We got to leave, we got to go, we got to go, right? So when we have these responses where we feel like we just need to run, right? To try to bring back into balance. So the complement to fleeing would be groundedness. So we want to get this feeling of groundedness, right? So the technique, one of the techniques I used as the complement for grounding, I learned from Sifu Dan Jones, actually, and I've also included it in my Becoming a Tree Qigong exercise. And this, we can call it wind blowing the bamboo, right? This is wind blowing the bamboo. We're going to find our groundedness, even though we have this desire for fleeing movement, we're going to find groundedness in our movement, right? So let's get our nice basic neutral stance, weight evenly distributed, ball to heel, left to right, knees are unlocked, heels, hips, shoulders, ears in one line, shoulders relaxed, those ping pong balls underneath our armpits, right? So even though we move, we're going to shift our weight from left to right, okay? And remember, we're Tai Chi shifting, not weebles wobble but don't fall down shifting, right? So we're going to shift from our core, just from left to right, but we're grounded. Feel the groundedness. Even we have this desire to move, but we want to feel the groundedness. Clutch the ground with your toes. Feel as you shift your weight. Activate the feet as it drives you from side to side. So we're going to get this left to right movement, right? And then once we feel grounded left to right, we're going to go ball to heel, right? Ball to heel. Feel the groundedness. We come through to the heel, right? Activating. Now we're getting our feet activated, moving forward and back, holding that nice frame, right? So now we've got left to right, we've got forward and back, right? We still find our groundedness. We still might feel this desire, this need to flee, but we're starting to sense a little more groundedness. The third kind of the bamboo is making the figure eight, right, with our weight. So you're going to generate off of the heel to the ball, to that same heel, to the ball, to the heel, to the ball, to the heel, to the ball, right? And then you've got this little rounding the corner with our hips, right? So now we get this, we're moving, but yet you're still grounded. You generate off that heel, pulling with that front foot, shift back, push and pull, right? And then we're able to sense and feel our groundedness, even though we're still moving, right? So in those moments, we just want to take off, right? This is a technique we can use to bring balance, to utilize that need to flee, not to toss it away, but to find some groundedness in movement. Wind blowing the bamboo. Right? I do this all the time. I find myself doing this. You know, we stand in line all the time now. So whenever I'm standing in line, I find this nice frame, and it helps me to get out of that anxiousness of wanting to move. I gotta move, I gotta move. Oh, okay, right. Oh, look what's in People magazine, right? And you get this moving. So the complement for flight is groundedness. And I like using this wind blows the bamboo. We can find our groundedness in our feet, right? Second one is fight, right? We go we're going to go at it, right? So we have this need to fight, right? Where the technique I like using to want this is Yang style wave hands, right? Yang style wave hands. Because it's turned to us, we have this sense of I'm protecting myself, right? We're setting our frame, right? I'm going to poof, right? I'm setting my frame. I'm giving myself protection. We feel the need. I got to protect myself. Okay, I'm going to set my frame, protect myself, protect my vital organs. And instead of coming head on into something, right? Me and you, I'm going to redirect. I'm going to redirect whatever that stimulus that is giving me this traumatic emotional response to fight, and I'm just going to redirect and let it go, right? So this is our Yang wave hands, right? So I'm going to get in there, and I'm just thinking, and maybe I'm imaging my whatever that stimulus is. I'm protecting myself from it, setting my frame, and then I'm just going to redirect it and let it go without having to fight. I'm just going to accept what it's giving, redirect, and let it go, right? Protect, accept, redirect, let it go, right? Also notice we can get that bamboo, right? We get our groundedness. We're grounding ourselves, right? So we still got that figure 8 that we were using back with our wind blows the bamboo. So this would be the counter to fight, the complement. I'm not throwing over, I'm not saying, oh, just let it, just drop your hands and go. That's not what I'm saying. So we're still utilizing some protection, right? And I'm still engaging. It's not that I'm not engaging. I'm still engaging and then releasing, right? So as we work through whatever that stimulus is, protect, accept, redirect, release, okay? As opposed to just gonna, I'm an Irishman, so we have a tendency to do that. So I need to do this a little more, right? On the third one, we have flight, fight, and then there's this freeze, right? So how do we move out of that paralyzed freeze-ness, right? Paralyzed freeze-ness. Same thing, right? We're not going to give up that stationariness because that's, for some reason, our sympathetic nervous system has said we need to stay stationary. So we're going to utilize that stationary back to our groundedness, right? Stationary groundedness. But then we're going to get some movement away. So when we get into that kind of paralyzed freeze-ness, we're just going to use a basic Tai Chi push, right? We're just going to push, right? I'll do it coming at you first, right? You just take that step. I'm grounded. I've got that nice groundedness, right? But I'm going to think about, I'm going to move, right? I'm not going to stay here. I'm not frozen. I'm moving, right? So let it go, right? You can sing that if you want, or not. Okay, I'll keep my singing to myself. But you see how, even though I'm still grounded, I'm not frozen stiff, right? I'll do it to the side. We can switch right. You just come back. You just taking your step out, still grounded. We still have that groundedness, right? But we're just going to push to get us that feeling of unfrozenness, unstuckness. Whatever is kind of holding us in, whatever that stimulus is that's kind of got me paralyzed, I'm just going to release it to the universe. And I'm going to get some movement. You're not going to hold me back, right? can do it with either foot, switch feet, whatever that may be. So those are the moving techniques, right? Like I said, this is basic, right? Just kind of in that moment when either you are in a traumatic moment, actually in that moment, or somebody else that you may be with or talking to is in a traumatic moment. Sometimes we get phone calls that send us into trauma, right? And or whatever it is. Or it's some stimulus has kind of brought about a traumatic memory response. And we know our body holds trauma, our brain holds trauma, and sometimes those traumatic events come back to us in wide variety, and we have fight, flight, or freeze because of those traumatic memories. This stimulus has induced this response, either in myself or in somebody else, and we can use those as well. So I hope that helps. Practice them. Like I said, these aren't the only ones. These are just kind of some baseline stuff, and but at least kind of get you thinking in this area. So have a good day. Peace.